everyone, and welcome to my channel. Happy New Year, by the way. I hope that all of you have a year filled with joy, gratitude, blessings upon blessings, and that your goals are realized through your hard work and determination. This episode is going to be about being stationed with the Marines. So I did a video about being stationed with the Marines, I think a year or two ago, but I wanted to redo it because I'm currently stationed with a Marine unit. So there are 3 Marine units in the United States Navy that nurses can get stationed with. There is 1st Medical Battalion that is located in Camp Pendleton, California. There is 2nd Medical Battalion located in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and there's 3rd Medical Battalion located in Okinawa, Japan. 3rd Medical Battalion also has a small unit stationed in Hawaii. So there are a few billets, actually scratch that, there's a lot of billets open because the Marine Corps just bought a lot of billets for Navy nurses. So the kind of nurse that you have to be a critical care nurse, so ICU, ER specialty, or they have med-surg billets as well. Unfortunately, that's the only ones that Medical Battalion takes because the mission is to deploy and fulfill Role 2 duties. So a Role 2 is a hospital that we set up about 6 to 9 tents, depending on where you're at. And we set up the shock trauma platoon, which is like the ER, pre-op, post-op area. We have a tent for surgery, and then we have a preventive medicine tent, and we have a dental tent, and then we have an en route care tent where nurses and corpsmen work to package a patient and get them out to the next level of care. And we also have a tent where we act basically like a holding unit. So it's like a medical, surgical / ICU. So Role 2 is basically a field hospital that we set up, and the nurses that we need to fulfill these roles are ICU, ER, and medical surgical nurses. While you are stationed at a medical battalion, your primary goal or job as a nurse is to train your team, and your team is corpsmen. You're training them how to take care of primarily patients with traumatic injuries, and teach them how to hold patients like in a medical, surgical, or ICU ward. So the nurses, our unit, we do classes for the corpsmen. We teach them about airway, breathing, circulation, hemorrhage control. We teach them about the ventilator, suctioning, everything that you need to do in order to take care of a patient coming into our ER or shock trauma platoon, and then going through into surgery, holding and packaging them up to get onto a helicopter or a Humvee to move them, if need be, to a higher echelon of care. Also, while you're stationed at a medical battalion, you have to keep up your own skills. So for example, I'm an ICU nurse, so I have to do clinical sustainment and work 2 shifts a week. They can either be day or night shift. There are choosing. I choose days because me personally, I don't like working nights, but you can work nights. So we can work either at the Naval Hospital Camp Pendleton or Naval Hospital Balboa, where I am stationed right now. And then it just depends whether you're with 1st, 2nd, or 3rd Medical Battalion, which closest medical treatment facility or naval hospital is close to you, and then that's where you will do your clinical sustainment. What we like to do as well is when we're doing clinical sustainment, we like to advertise that to our corpsmen, like, hey, I'm going to be working in the ICU or the ER this day. You want to come work a 12-hour shift with me? That way the corpsmen, they get to keep up their skills as well, and they can learn the ventilator, different disease processes, and even the smallest, simplest things like how to start an IV, how to draw blood to get labs. All these little things are very necessary for both nurses and corpsmen to just keep up their skills. Being stationed with a Marine unit is considered an operational duty, and it is a 2-year billet. Sometimes people extend for whatever reason, but normally it's a 2-year billet with dependents and or without dependents. So because it is an operational billet, there are certain qualifications that we need to have while being with a Marine unit. One of these qualifications is a pistol qualification. Whenever we deploy, we need to carry a pistol with us. The Marines carry M16s or M9s depending on what their job is, but we carry pistols as Navy Nurse Corps officers. So with that said, we have to qualify with our pistols. So we get to go to a range. Another thing we have to do is the gas chamber. Not my favorite thing, but it's not that bad. So gas chamber, they recently renamed it to confidence chamber because they want you to be confident that your gas mask is going to work in the event of a chemical, biological, or nuclear attack. And basically you wear your gas mask and you go into a building with no windows or anything like that, and then they put some CS gas in there, and you have to stay in there for a certain amount of time. They make you crack your seal just to make sure that you get a little bit CS gas in there just to experience it, and then you take your fingers out, you regain your seal, and then you can show that you are confident in your gas mask and that it is going to work. You have to do that every year. It's an annual thing. What else do we have to do? We have to do TCCC, which is Tactical Combat Casualty Care. And it is a week-long course that everyone, nurses and corpsmen alike, have to go through. And that qualification is good for, I think, 2 to 3 years. I can't remember. I would have to look at my certification. But it's a week-long course that we do, and we learn how to take patients under fire and then tactically move them out of the combat zone and apply first aid, ABCs, to that critical patient. When you get stationed with a Marine Corps billet, you will go to a warehouse as part of your check-in process, and you will get issued a shit ton of gear, to include a large bag that you fill with sleeping bag system, canteens, a flak, a Kevlar. So a flak is like a kind of like a bulletproof vest with SAPI plates in it. There's a ton of gear that I can't possibly go over because it's just a lot. Actually, I have mine right here. Let me just show you what some of it looks like. So that's the bag there, and then that's my flak and Kevlar there. You will be responsible for keeping all of that gear that was issued to you clean and in good working condition. So make sure you take care of it, because if you lose it or if you break something, you will have to pay for it when you turn it back in. And you don't want to do that because a lot of those prices are jacked up and it becomes expensive. So you're probably thinking to yourself, why am I getting all of this gear? The gear is for when you go and do field ops or field training. You'll do at least one field operation or training while you're stationed with the Marine unit, and that consists of going out to the field. Think of it like a huge camping trip with all of your corpsmen and some Marines, and you go and you set up all the tents, and you train like you are in a role 2 in a tent hospital basically, and then you're taking care of fake patients. You will also need the gear when you actually deploy. So deployments right now, it's just up in the air. You know, when 9/11 happened and Iraq and Afghanistan were going hot and heavy, We were deploying a lot. If you went to a Marine unit, it was basically a given that you are going to deploy to either Iraq or Afghanistan. But now that that is not really a thing anymore, we do different deployments, and it just depends on where in the world you are and what in the world is happening. So you will either deploy or maybe not deploy when you're with a Marine unit. Another thing that you will need to do when you are with a medical battalion is study for your FMF officer pin. So FMF is Fleet Medical Force, and it's a pin that you wear on your uniform after you earn it. So you have to read a book, basically memorize a book. This is the Fleet Marine Force Warfare Qualified Officer, and as you can see, it's pretty thick. It has things like history and significance of the FMF device, United States Marine Corps mission and organization fundamentals. There's weapons fundamentals, amphibious operations fundamentals, anti-terrorism, force protection, communication fundamentals, Marine Corps planning process fundamentals. There's a whole ton of stuff that we have to learn, and we get signed off by another officer that's already qualified, and then we have to take a test. After we take the test, we have to do a board. So it's a group of officers that are already qualified for this, and they ask you questions. So it's a very, very important thing to get your warfare qualification or PIN while you are stationed with a medical battalion. It technically is not mandatory. However, in your officer record, if you are going up for a promotion or a certain job that you want and you have to apply for it, and the board sees that you were stationed with a medical battalion and had a chance to get your PIN and did not, it doesn't really look good. So if you're stationed with a medical battalion, get your warfare PIN. On a day-to-day basis, being stationed at a medical battalion it can get kind of boring because there's a lot of nurses there with not a lot to do, unless you're training or doing clinical sustainment, or if you have a leadership position. So I would suggest trying to get a leadership position at a medical battalion. So you can be a platoon commander, you can be a senior nurse officer, or you can work in the headquarters section of medical battalion in the training department, which is huge because training is one of our biggest missions. So just keep that in mind if you're going to a medical battalion, and really anywhere in your naval officer career, is to try and get some type of leadership position where you can grow and you can mentor and help others to grow. At a medical battalion, you have 4 sections, if you will, or 4 companies. You have H&S, which is headquarters, and then you have Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie companies. Each company has their own nurses and their own corpsmen attached to it. And all the companies together are a battalion. That is the broad overarching picture of being at a medical battalion. I hope that you guys found this video helpful, and if you have any other questions, just please feel free to message me on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook. I love helping prospective Navy nurses out and just giving you ideas of maybe future billets that you want to fill or future jobs that you want to hold. So again, Happy New Year, and give me your ideas for other videos to do. I will see you in the next video.